In this video, I'm going to walk you through some of the basics of using Adobe Premiere Pro. There's quite a few features on this program, and it can be a little overwhelming at first. So in this tutorial, I'm going to show how you can make a simple video if you want to create a slideshow video. This would also work if you were uploading actual video clips and not just images. So I'm just going to walk through how you would do that, how you would incorporate audio, and some different pieces like that. So first, you're going to want to open Adobe Premiere Pro. So now you're on the main page of Premiere Pro that's going to open. And the first thing that we're going to want to do is to create a new project. And you'll see here that you have 3 tabs at the top. You'll always begin in Import. Then when you click on Create, that's going to move you to the Edit tab, and that's really where you'll do all the creating of your video. And finally, moving to the Export tab is where you can then publish that video. So the first thing we're going to do is name the project. So I'm going to name this Leadership Retreat. Project location, I'm going to change that to the folder that I want it to save to. So I'm going to click Choose Location. And now the video is going to save to this location here. So select Folder. Over to the side, I recommend changing the name of your sequence to the name of the type of video you're creating. Because when you come back into Premiere Pro to create another project, you may see old sequences come up when you click Create. So this way you can keep track of the sequence that you're on. So I'm going to name this again, Leadership Retreat. From here, I'm going to click Create. So you'll see that we are now in the Edit tab. If you need to go back to Import, you can click back to that at any time. And up here, there are a variety of different tabs to click on as well. The Window tab is helpful if you want to see something like Effect Controls. And if it's not currently showing up here on your main screen, you can click that and it will add it to the sidebar. It looks a little overwhelming at first, but really there are some main features that are helpful to use. So now that you have this open, the first box that we're going to look at is adding media. So you can either click the Import Media button, or you can right-click and select Import. You have the option if you want to select and import an entire folder to just click that folder and then click Import Folder. Or I'm going to click on the folder and I'm going to control click on the photos that I want. And then I'm going to click open. So all of my photos have appeared here. Currently, they're in a list format. You can also view them as an icon if you want to see what the actual pictures look like. Or you can also do freeform if you want to have a larger view. So now all of these photos are in my Project Leadership Retreat library. To add them to the timeline, this is where I can actually start to build out the video. I am simply going to click and drag. I'm going to switch it back to list view, click on the first image and drag it to my sequence. You can see here that the timeline lets me know that I'm at the very beginning of the sequence. V1 means that this is going into the video or kind of media tab. A1, A2, A3, those are all places that I can drag audio for when I want to add music later on. So you can see I've selected my first image and it appears up here so that I can actually watch and see what it will look like. It's a little difficult to tell at this point how long this video clip lasts, so I recommend moving the toggle bar on the timeline down so that you have a better idea, and you can see this lasts for just over 4 seconds. That's a little longer than I want it to last, so in a few minutes, I'm going to change the duration of that. But I'm going to add a few more photos, and I'll simply click and drag them. And I'm going to add a total of, we'll do 5 pictures for this. Now I have all of my photos in that I would like, but I would also like to add a little text. So if you ever want to add text to your video, whether you want to overlay that over a photo, have it as a title slide, or at the end, you will click so that you have your little toggle here. And I want to have a thank you message at the end. So you'll see over here on this little section, you have a couple different tools. You have your selection tool, your razor tool. But if you come down here to the T, you have your type tool. So I'm going to select that. I'm going to click in this actual preview box up here, not down here on the timeline. And now I can type, "Thank you for a great retreat." So now I have my text here as well. And you can see this appears down here on the bar as a graphic, so I can actually still change the duration of this also. I'm going to then click that selection tool again, and now I can click and drag and move this how I choose. If you want to edit your text, you're going to simply click the right-hand button and click Edit Properties, and you'll see it just opened up in that same little box. If you're wondering, how do I get back if I want to add more media? You can see there's an arrow over here. You just go back to your Project tab, and now you've switched back to the media. And now in Essential Graphics, from here, there's quite a few options, but really the Align and Transform will allow you, if you watch the text, you can see that it's moving it to the middle. I can change the text type, so maybe I want it to be Arial, bold. I can change the size by moving this little bar. And then coming back up here, again, I want it to be centered and in the middle. So those are some of the features that you can do to move the text. So now we have the pictures that we want. We have text at the end. At this point, I will normally take my timeline bar simply by clicking and dragging it and see if all of the pictures are aligned the way I want them to be. So if I go again and click on the preview box here, you can see, because of where these lines are of the picture, you can see it's actually a little bit bigger than the screen. So I am going to click on that and simply shrink it just a bit so that the picture fits within the box. I'm going to move to the next image, and you can see here it doesn't quite fill up the whole area, so maybe I want that to be just a little bigger, and drag that to fit better. So you can go through and edit your photos in that way. There are quite a few other editing options. I'm not going to look at all of them in this video, since this is looking at some of the more basic opportunities, but there are those options if you want your pictures to actually move a bit, to do that as well. What I am going to do is add a transition, which I recommend doing this between slides because it really adds a nice kind of smooth effect to everything. So the way that you do that, I'm going to come down here and click. So here's the little box. This is my first slide. Now, I don't really want this picture to last for a total of 4 seconds. I'd rather it last for 2 seconds. So what I'm going to do is right click. I'm going to click on Speed Duration. And up here where it says 4, I'm going to change that to a 2. When I click OK, you can see it just shrunk that amount. I'm going to drag the other picture over, And then in between these, if I click in between, you see this little red bar appears. If I right click, apply default transitions, if I click on that, you can see it adds this little kind of bar where it's doing a cross dissolve. And so that means if I click on play, you can watch it sort of dissolve from one picture into the other. And if you would prefer it to dissolve a little quicker, you can simply click on that box and you can change the length of the dissolve. So you can go through and you can apply transitions to all of your boxes. If you want something to last longer or shorter, another way to change the speed or duration is simply to click on the box and drag it either forward or backward to make it longer or shorter. So the one other thing I'm going to do in this video is show you how to add audio to your clip. So back in this little box here, I'm going to click the arrow and I'm going to go back to the project leadership retreat so that I can add in some more media, do another import. So again, I'm going to right click, select import. I'm going to go to my tab where I have all of my different music, and I'm going to select the music that I want. Again, you could upload and import an entire folder if you wanted. I'm just going to click on one option here, and I'm going to click open. And you can see here at the bottom is where it uploaded. It has the name, and it also has the sort of audio symbol. So I'm going to make sure that I'm back at the beginning of my timeline. Then click and drag, and I'm going to drag it towards this A1 section here. So I'll drop that in. And you can see now, here's the audio. And it follows the whole way out. It actually goes longer than I need it to. So I have the option to trim my audio or a video. So if you have a video with some footage in it that you'd like to get rid of, you can do the same thing. You simply click and place your cursor where you would like it to be cut. You can use the razor tool, or if you're using a Windows computer, it's Control K is the shortcut. You always want to click on the box that you want to cut. So if I'm wanting to cut the media, then I would click on this box, but here I want to cut the audio. So I'll click on that box, and where the blue line is where my cut is going to happen. So I'm going to drag it just a little longer. I'm going to click Control K, and you can see now that it has cut this into two separate boxes. So I will simply press the backspace on this and delete that. So now my audio has been trimmed. Again, you have options if you click and drag. So for example, I don't want it to start with this kind of soft audio, so I'm simply going to click and drag. And I know here it's now going to start off louder. Then I simply click and drag that box back to the beginning. Now, if you have a video that has someone talking in it, and if you want your audio to be background music, you're going to want to add a tag so that Premiere Pro knows that the music should be more background and that the vocals should be more foreground. For this, you simply click on the box, right-click, and select Auto Tag Audio Types. And you can see this box opens up here to Essential Sound. You have the options to change the volume, the level of your audio, but also if you see this little preset button, currently it says custom. I'm going to click and I'm going to change this to balanced background music. So you'll see this changes the audio a bit, and I'll switch it back to default so you can see here it looks a bit louder where you see the audio. When I click balanced background, it softens it a bit. If you were to have an audio clip, you would likely want to change that. You would have more options where it would say things like balanced low voice, high voice, if you want it to be sort of a podcast sound. So you have some different options for that. So from here, you can play your video, preview it, make sure everything sounds the way you want it to. You can, again, if you stretch out your timeline bar, you can see everything in a smaller frame so you can look at everything at once. And the last step, once everything is edited as you would like it, is to click on the Export tab. From here, you can name your file, so Fall Leadership Retreat, and you can see it's being saved as an MP4. The location, you can change if you want, but it is already going to that Fall Leadership Retreat file. You can see that the entire source is being exported, so not just a custom area or just a piece of the work area. You want to make sure that it does say the entire source. And from here, you just click Export. And at this point, your video will export and then it will appear in the folder that you would like. I don't actually need this video to export, so I'm simply going to cancel that. And then when you're ready to make another project, you can simply go back to the home page or reopen Premiere Pro and you can start that new project. Or you can see if I scroll down, I can re-access old projects that I worked on. So those are just some basic steps for using Premiere Pro. If you have any questions about utilizing this program, please feel free to reach out to me at gradmarketingga@messiah.edu. Thank you so much.